All right.
Thank you, guys.
Hello, friends. So today we have the filmmakers and some of the participants of the new documentary coming out on Hulu called "We Live Here, the Midwest." Everyone, thank you very much for your time. If you could do me a favor and do a quick introduction of yourself, so that way everyone else who's here today.
My name is Russ Exlos Raver.
I am Mark Exlos Raver.
David Miller, the producer.
Melinda Maerker, director.
Courtney Skiba, Denise Skiba,
Maerker Skiba.
All right. Again, thank you everyone very much for your time today. Melinda, my question for you is, what was the genesis of this project? I mean, why? I know with everything going on right now, this is very timely and it's very important that people watch this. So, what was the spark that said, we need to make this and then we need to put this out for people to watch?
Honestly, it was the 2016 election. David and I had already been working on a project about LGBTQ families. Before that, it was very sweet. Marriage equality was the lay of the land. And then the election happened and there was just this wave of backlash. So we became curious about how is this affecting our families and to what degree? And that really that was the impetus for the project.
Anything you want to add to that, David?
Well, there is. I mean, and what we didn't know then is what's happening right now, where things have gotten even worse. You have the number 3 most powerful person in government right now who holds such antagonistic and discriminatory views about the very people before you. These families are just like any other family. And Melinda and I are very proud to present this film to an audience right now at really such a crucial and pivotal time when the country is facing, there were over 400 anti-gay and anti-trans bills introduced into legislation this year. Thankfully, not all of them passed, but we are in perilous times, and this is a very important film to come out right now.
Yes, I completely agree. I mean, for me, it's like hard to fathom how people cannot just see that, these are just families. Like what Courtney said, it's just 2 parents with 1 child growing up in the Midwest. And I thought that was it's just a beautiful line because it is true. I mean, it's, I hate using the word subjects for documentary, but that's why I use participants, because subject sounds too clinicky, but you're not like a test rat, you're actual people. And that's what I really loved about this documentary, that we see that. But what was also the process of getting these families to participate in this? Because I did read that, some parent or some families dropped out at last minute for afraid of how people would see them or retaliation. So the question, I guess, would be twofold. What was the process? And then for the families that are here today, what, how did you find out about this? And what made you want to participate?
Well, that's absolutely right. The process was not easy for many reasons. You're working with organizations, you're finding families in different ways. And that's true. A number of families, rightly so, declined to participate simply because they feared retribution within their communities or especially at their jobs. And that's why we call all of our participants here today courageous. And that's deliberately why we marketed the film, and Hulu was totally on board with this, as an authentic portrait of courageous families in the Midwest, because that comes first and foremost.
And then Courtney and Mark, if you guys want to say what was the process for you? How did you find out about this and why did you want to participate?
Melinda called and we answered the phone. And in that, we have always been present in advocating for our lives being just everyday lives. And that kind of activism, demonstrating every day that we're just normative, is important. And this particular project gives a platform for that.
Yeah. To kind of jump off that, it was very much for us, we didn't really have any knowledge about the project. It kind of came very much out of the blue from just a random phone call. Melinda's partner actually found us. We have a small goat farm, and we run a business selling goat-based products, soaps, hand creams, that sort of thing. And so and Courtney had actually been in the Huffington Post twice, been on multiple local news sections, and so yeah.
And I think for Mark and I, it was important that there be representation, as people as educators, as therapists. I think that demographic of younger individuals sort of just naturally gravitated toward us, and to help move that narrative forward, that we are regular families, and we pay taxes, and we own businesses, and we give back to our communities, and that representation is very, very important for young people to see.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We were also seeing the behavioral health issues in our business. We run a behavioral health organization in Fremont, Iowa, and we're seeing a lot of kids come in who were perhaps transgender, etc. They were going through a lot of almost suicidal ideation there. We were very scared, and in order to save people, we wanted to make sure our voices were heard.
Yes, that definitely. Russ, I mean, I myself am an educator. So seeing your story and then seeing, I really connected a lot, because I would have students come up to me. Usually it was like family problems or something going on at home that they wanted to talk about and they felt comfortable. But your story, and like seeing how the kids are so comfortable to you that they talk to you about anything. And I think like some even like came out to you. Was that correct? I mean, it's just something that, I think more people need to see this, because it's a lot of kids don't have that. They're scared of who to talk to depending on their environment. And then to have that one adult, I mean, so just watching your segment really moved me a lot. And then Merrick, I mean, you're at the end, like your line about, you have the Midwestern values, but just to be nicer. I think that's like a beautiful thing to say too, because it's weird, and I don't want to talk too much, but it's weird like how Midwest is known for being like, really friendly, but yet there are these little like segments that are just like toxic, and you don't want to stay, and it's weird to see. But going back to the goat farm for a quick second, did you face like any like type of obstruction or like problems with trying just to create that when you started it, being because you were lesbian?
The roadblocks to creating a goat farm?
Was there like any like like if you had to get funding for it or anything, was there anything like preventing that for you because of who you were?
I think that there are more barriers to women in business in Kansas than necessarily LGBTQ plus barriers. We're just out in the community, and I've always lived my life authentically. So I just forged ahead. And we're self-funded and a sustainable farm. So we built slowly from the beginning so that the goats, they themselves would self-fund the goat farm. So
we're not reliant on any government agency or any financial institution that would be able to block us from living our lives in that way.
Right. Yeah. I never wanted to have to be dependent on a government institution that could pull my funding because of living my life authentically.
We're the same.
Nice, definitely. I did want to ask too. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. One of in Mark's and Russ's story, the kids were talking about that you were their biggest cheerleader. So for all of you, who are your biggest cheerleaders in your life that are pushing you and keep making you want to go ahead and keep moving forward with this?
That's a beautiful question. Wow. I think for me, it's my personal friends and family. My family is incredibly supportive. I came out later in life, and I think I talked about that very briefly in the film. And my parents have been nothing but supportive. My children have been nothing but supportive our friends that Mark and I have collectively, you know, are incredibly supportive. And I think, especially in the LGBTQ community, you create that family. You create that family with supportive individuals. I consider very close friends to be part of my family. You know, we exchange Christmas gifts, and we share holidays, and I think those are my cheerleaders. But I think my students are also my cheerleaders. When I hear, you know, a former student contact me who has come out as transgender, and, you know, share their story and be like, I want you to know this, even though I wasn't comfortable necessarily at the time, you were the one person that kind of gave me hope. And I want to share the story with you now. Or even, you know, when they are still within the educational wall setting, I think that's what kind of spurs me in that direction.
And Russ and Mark were a very important segment in the film, because, you know, we didn't talk about their family. We talked about their sort of extended family, you know, I mean, not their children, you know, they're extended, because often what happens is a child comes out and the parents ostracize them, they don't talk to them anymore. And Russ and Mark have opened up their lives to those type of students amongst others, to make them feel safe. And that was really important to fit that in there, because, you know, families look different, and sometimes your families are your friends, particularly in the LGBTQ plus community.
And in our world too, like I have to give props to my parents and my brother and sister and their families, because we all developed from a core belief of respect and kindness. You learn that when you're young, and I think you can take that on to whatever you do in life. And I am very fortunate to have that kind of loving family, and of course my husband, who's very, very much on my side all the time.
And I think to this point that it's particularly necessary to find your cheerleaders, because the bullying has increased in school. And certainly that's the experience that you're having and seeing. So yeah, having your own community, having your own cheerleaders, having representation from someone you really respect is important. And that's what we're trying to do in many ways. We hope one of the results is of a film that is really about sharing stories, in a regardless of the participants, who they are or what their sexual orientation is, that we want the representation to exist, and we want people to see that as they fall into the story.
Yes, definitely. Courtney and Denise, who are your biggest cheerleaders? Merrick too, who are your biggest cheerleaders?
Our friends and family are our biggest cheerleaders. I definitely echo that. I mean, your community, that the people that stand behind you and what you represent are the biggest cheerleaders in my life. That, of course, being my family first and foremost on that line.
Absolutely. Our families for sure. We have several close family friends who are considered our family as well. Merrick's God family, some neighbors who are really close to us, we share holidays with. She helped dress me, so thank you, Sue Nissen. And then my coworkers at the hospital that I work at, they have been tremendously supportive.
Yeah, and for me, it has to be my parents as well as my close friends, being there to support me throughout any issues that, you know, I've already gone to one resource, I might as well hit the other one and get, you know, support from two sides, from a familial side as well as from a side that can kind of look at it from a little bit more of a third party view and be like, yeah, you're doing the right thing, or you should, you know, look at that aspect of it and be more supportive, and or look at it from a different angle. So definitely my very close friends and my parents.
Thank you all for these wonderful answers. Definitely, this is, I guess, like something that people really need to see, especially with the story with I think Mario and Monty, like their neighbors were supporters of 45, but yet getting to know them, they ended up becoming their friends. And I think hopefully this will start changing minds and seeing that it sounds weird to say, but you're all just regular people and there shouldn't be this fear of who you are. And like, like Lin-Manuel Miranda said, love is love, and this is what people need to see, that this is just regular, you guys are just, people trying to live your lives, and hopefully this will, resonate with people.
We really wanted to highlight the extraordinary lives of these ordinary people.
And to play off that, this is why it was important again for us to market it as courageous people first, LGBTQ plus second. And I would say we really wanted, with the film in general, it's not a niche film, it's not a preachy film. These are good stories. It's a joyous film in many ways, with complications of people's lives and not just what they're facing externally, but how that affects often internal dynamics of a family. So watch the film, hopefully, because it is entertaining, it's story driven. And then along the way, if it makes you think farther, if it makes you have a conversation, if it makes you communicate with someone you may not have communicated with before, I think that's the way to get there.
I think on that note we'll end, because I don't know how else to continue with that. But yes, definitely. This is great. I think really, like, again, we live here in the Midwest. Are there any futures for other locations throughout the country that we might be looking at, or right now we're just going to focus on the Midwest?
Oh, no. Are doing research right now. We definitely would like to continue this project for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely love to see more. Everybody, thank you very much for your time. We live here, the Midwest. Premieres on December 6th on Hulu. Definitely check it out, watch it with friends and family, and hopefully this will start some great conversations afterwards. So thank you all for your time again, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye. Awesome.